There's a lot of anime airing in fall 2023, over 70 of them in fact. Of course that includes returning hits like Eminence in Shadow, Goblin Slayer, Spy Family, and Saints Magic, but you're probably already familiar with those, and if you're not, you need to because they're damn amazing. But for today, we're going to be taking a look at the best new anime airing this season. As a reminder, this list is sure to change a little as time goes on, but this is what I'm liking the most right now. Dark fantasy fans are eating really good this season, there's a ton of it. Ragna Crimson looks like it'll be one of the best ones though. It follows a boy and a girl in a medieval world where humans are in a constant struggle for survival against dragons who kill and eat humans. Think of it kind of like Goblin Slayer but with a slightly less edgy protagonist and dragons instead of goblins. Oh yeah, and with an anime Karen as the main villain. I mean, this guy literally destroys an entire kingdom because his favorite restaurant closed. The world feels very chaotic and ruthless, and what makes it stand out even more to me is how the main character gets his powers from fusing with a future version of himself. The first episode was an hour-long premiere, and it did a really good job of introducing us to the lore and the characters. I like the chemistry between the two leads, and I'm looking forward to seeing where this one goes. Now, we've actually got not one, but two racing anime airing this season in Overtake and MF Ghost. But for the sake of this list, I've only included Overtake since it's the one that I like the most so far. I didn't watch Initial D growing up, so I don't have as strong a connection to it as some other people, but MF Ghost will of course be good as well, and definitely go check that out. As for Overtake though, this is Troika's 20th anniversary project, and it follows a photographer who gets introduced to the world of Formula 4 racing. What I like most about this one is not only do the races look amazing, but the main character is basically a conduit through which the audience can learn about Formula racing. All the technical terms, the preparation, the behind the scenes stuff, it's like a crash course in the sport. Even as someone who's not really into Formula racing, I really like the opening episode. It seems like it'll be focusing a lot on an underdog racing team as they work their way up the ranks. I'm always a sucker for these types of stories, so here's to hoping it stays good. Are you tired of watching harems where the best girl loses? Well, I got good news for you. You don't have to worry about that in this show. The 100 Girlfriends That Really Loves You airs this season, and it's arguably the GOAT harem anime. Rintaro's had every single girl he's confessed to in middle school reject him, prompting him to go pray at a shrine where the god of the shrine tells him he'll meet 100 soulmates in high school. That's awesome, right? Well, the catch is if he doesn't form a relationship with all of them, they'll die. So you can imagine this is an absolutely batshit crazy story, but from what I've seen of it, there's a ton of legitimate character development. Like, he's not just dating 100 side characters, these are 100 actual main girlfriends. They all get fleshed out pretty well, and he makes time for all of them. I mean, damn, this might actually be the biggest Chad in anime history. I don't know how it's gonna work in anime format, but I'm excited as hell for this one. It's been a while since we've had an actual VR MMORPG anime, and other than Bofuri, most of them have been really bad to say the least. Shangri-La Frontier looks to break that streak though. In a world where VR gaming has become the norm, the main character Rakuro has made it his life's mission to seek out and play every bad game in existence. He actually reminds me a lot of myself since I tend to like anime that most people don't. One day he stumbles upon a game called Shangri-La Frontier, skips the prologue, and jumps right into the action. Little does he know that this game has a lot more to it than meets the eye. Now, I really like the first episode of this. It's got amazing production values. It's from C2C, who gave us shows like Majo no Tabi Tabi, Tenken, and Tsukimichi, so I'm expecting this one to be a banger. It honestly feels like a good version of Full Dive RPG from a couple years ago. The only thing it's missing now is some waifus, so if we get that, we're good. Apothecary Diaries is a light novel series I've had recommended to me many times. I haven't got around to reading it yet, but just knowing a little bit about the story makes me excited enough for it. It's one of the few shows where the Japanese name is easier to say for me as well. I mean, seriously, how the hell do you pronounce apothecary? Anyway, it's a medieval Chinese historical story about a girl who's sold off into slavery at the emperor's palace. Instead of being angry at the world, when she finds out the emperor's two kids have fallen ill, she uses her medical expertise to heal them. She wants to stay under the radar, but of course it never works out that way. She ends up catching the attention of a high-ranking noble, and the story gets going from there, following on her medical journey helping people. With Kokyu no Karasu and Watakon recently, we've had a lot of good female-led historical stories, and y'all know how I feel about female MCs in general, so I'm really hyped for this. There's a few really good romance stories this season. The first I want to talk about is You Were Experienced, I Was Not, our dating story. The main character Ryuto loses a game and has to confess to one of the hottest girls in school. What started as a joke though quickly develops into something a lot more serious. The show's got two things going for it. For starters, Gero's supremacy. I mean, seriously, I see a hot Gero in a story and I'm already interested. I'm a simple man. The other is that the relationship between the two leads is actually quite realistic and very sweet. Despite her cheery appearance, when you find out the things the main girl has been through, you can't help but want to give her a hug. I haven't seen or read Hajimete no Gao, but I've heard people say that this is a much more serious and realistic version of that. I know that show was popular back in the day, so if that's something you're into, you'll probably like this one as well. Ah yes, the obligatory seasonal that upsets tourists on anime Twitter. I've been looking forward to Oujo to Banken-Kun, or A Girl and Her Guard Dog, ever since the trailer dropped. For those that can separate reality from fantasy, this is going to be a really good watch. I know there's going to be some people upset about this one, but honestly, I don't really care. I'm always going to talk about things that I enjoy on this channel, which is different from more mainstream channels. Oujo to Banken-Kun is essentially about a Yakuza's boss daughter who falls in love with her bodyguard who's been with her ever since she was a little girl. Now that's the milder part. Where it may start to lose some people is just how possessive and overbearing the bodyguard is. He enrolls in her school so he can protect her from other guys. Now obviously in real life this type of stuff wouldn't be okay, but it's an anime. It's not real. The drawings won't hurt you, I promise. It's specifically shoujo anime, which has literally always dealt with controversial topics. It's what makes shoujo shoujo after all. That aside, it's a really cute watch to me. The art, animation, and voice acting are all really nice, and the two leads have some really good chemistry. Project Number 9 really know how to handle these rom-com stories better than anyone, so I'm gonna let them cook on this one. The biggest challenge for this story is going to be how the characters develop. Is the bodyguard going to realize he's being toxic and evolve over time, or is it going to stay kind of repetitive throughout? Either way, I'm going to watch it and enjoy it. I'll just enjoy it a little more if there's reasoning behind the behavior and some actual character progression. And finally, peak otome and Yuri is here. I'm in Love with the Villainess is a light novel series that's beloved, and for a very good reason. It separates itself from other otome series by having a main character who says, "Fuck these hot guys, I want the girl." Ray Taylor gets reincarnated into her favorite video game, but not as a villainess or princess like every other otome. She's just a regular person who falls in love with the antagonist of the game and has to work her way up. While the series is a romantic comedy that's absolutely hilarious, by the way, it's got some political intrigue in it as well, and there's a lot more to it than meets the eye. I kind of put it between a Hamafura and Tentenkekme on the seriousness scale, so if you like either one of those, I really think you'll have fun with this one. I know it'll for sure be one of my top shows of the season. Now speaking of Yuri, Hikakomari also airs this season and is another light novel adaptation that I've been looking forward to. A shut-in vampire wakes up to learn that she's been put in charge of a military unit full of delinquent vampires who she has to whip into shape. She comes from a long, proud vampire heritage, but because she doesn't drink blood, she's seen as weak and magically inept. This one is such a fun watch, and it's kind of like a less serious and more gay Yojo Senki, so if you're one of those people who was into Tanya and Victoria as a ship, you'll probably find yourself at home here. It's got waifus galore, a lot of silly fun, and a surprisingly well-written story. I'm glad this show is finally here. Move over Mid-Hero Academia, the real superhero anime is here, Shy. As you can probably guess from the name, Shy is about a 14-year-old introverted girl who works as Japan's superhero. This world is kind of set up like Hetalia from back in the day, where every country has a national hero, and those heroes anthropomorphize the countries. So the Russian hero likes to drink, the Japanese hero is quiet and shy, but what really makes this story stand out to me is how realistic it handles the trauma of all that responsibility being put on a 14-year-old girl. In the first episode, we see Shy struggle with the disappointment of failing to save a girl and gradually accepting that heroes can't save everyone. I don't know, I really like these introspective emotional development stories. They separate themselves from other hero-style shonen, and in Shy in particular, since it has a female protagonist and much more story, it just really hits different. I also think the story is just relatable for a lot of people. I mean, being thrown into such a difficult job at such a young age would be very emotionally taxing for most people, so seeing an anime handle that is very cool. And of course, cute anime girls, win-win. Have you ever wondered what happens after the Demon Lord is defeated? What do the characters get up to? Where does life go now after you've dedicated so much of it to one singular purpose? What makes Suso no Frieren so popular and so special is that it explores this topic and shows one of the best personal growth arcs in history. There's not going to be a single fall 2023 list that doesn't have this show on it, and honestly for good reason. As much as I tend to be different with anime ratings and not buying into the hype of mainstream stuff, this is one of those stories that's popular for a reason. It's that damn good. It's a slow introspective story, but the first 4 episodes were good enough to hook me already. I mean, over the course of the 4-episode premiere, I cried no less than 3 times. Not to mention it's by Madhouse, who look like they're back to their prime form, delivering awe-inspiring art and animation. If you're on limited time and only have time for one anime this season, it honestly needs to be Frieren. This is not just an anime at a year discussion, but I think it's in an all-timer debate, honestly. Now, like I always say, just because I didn't list a show here doesn't mean that I don't like it or I'm not watching it. I watch the vast majority of everything every season, so it's hard to narrow 40 shows down to 10, which I technically already failed at in this video because there were just so many damn good anime. I ended up going one over. A few honorable mentions though are Tearmoon Empire, which is another really good fantasy light novel adaptation about a queen who gets a second chance at life after being executed. She sets out to change the course of history and improve her kingdom so it doesn't get to the point where she has to be executed. Lots of good nation building and political intrigue in this one, and I'm really excited for it. There's also Butareba, which, yes, as you've probably heard, is about a dude who gets reincarnated as a pig, but just like the vending machine isekai last season and Tenken before it, it's a cute wholesome story about the main character being reincarnated and bonding with a cute girl. I'm excited. There's Berserk of Gluttony as well, which is another really solid dark fantasy light novel adaptation that I'm enjoying, and it has a S tier waifu, so win-win again. There's so many others. I could honestly go on for hours and hours about the anime in this season. It was a struggle just to make this list. We are eating so good this season with the new and returning shows. Let me know in the comments though what y'all are watching and what y'all are excited for. I can't wait to hear. I know there's a lot of different top 10 lists that will be out there this season just because of the sheer variety of anime. So it's a great time to be an anime fan. Of course, I'll also be doing write-ups for these anime and many more over on my anime list, so feel free to add me on there if you want to keep up with all that. Again, thanks so much for watching, guys. Feel free to leave a like and subscribe for more anime content. I try to do anime videos on this channel weekly, and I will see y'all after I get back from Japan. Peace.